All right, so we got an overwhelming amount of you guys recommend what we should cover in this Coyote review. We're not gonna get to everything, so if you're still curious by the end of this video, drop a comment below and we'll try to answer it. Quick disclaimer before we get into this review, we did get this board for free from Loaded, but under the conditions that we could say are complete honest thoughts, and they didn't see this review before we published it to you guys. So hopefully you can trust us here. They also sent us an extra deck to give away to one of you guys. And if you want to enter, the link will be in the description below. Click that and the rules will be there. So this new Coyote, it's the same shape, but they ended up switching up the graphic, which was made by the artist Ola Lu. So probably the most requested part of this video was to compare the Dinghy to the Coyote to the Omakase. And so hopefully this angle does it justice. The Dinghy blunt is 28.5 inches long by 8.6 inches wide. The Coyote is right around 31 inches long and 8.3 inches wide, give or take, something like that. But I think the key takeaway here is that it's longer than the Dinghy blunt, but it is thinner. And the Omakase is 33.5 inches long by 10 inches wide. So it's kind of in its own lane. I'm pretty sure you'll know if you want the Omakase or not. The more comparable of the three is the Dinghy and the Coyote. From a concave perspective, the Dinghy and Coyote are very similar. They're low key. And then the Omakase, again, in a lane of its own, it has very aggressive concave. Now, as far as kicktails go, the Dinghy has more pop. I don't know if you could see from this angle, but while riding it, you can definitely feel a difference compared to the Coyote. The Coyote's kicktail is just more low-key. And then I don't really think anyone is probably even considering doing tricks on the Omakase, but it has a low-key kicktail kind of similar to the shape of the Coyote. Right now, we're gonna go outside and show the Coyote a little more and then loop back and share our thoughts. Let's do it.
The only thing that concerns me with this board, if people want to like actually do tricks on it, you don't have too much of a kicktail. I mean, you have a kicktail, but with this size of a board, you can kind of compare it to like the Dinghy. If you want to roll that to me, Bill, you can kind of see that I'm just built different. You can kind of see that with this, like a higher concave in the kicktail, and it just feels like it's longer when like my foot's on top of it. So I don't know if that's just like a visual thing that I see, but with this, it's not as aggressive of a kicktail. When you do an ollie or any tricks really, you want to have more of a nose because otherwise it'll just kind of like torpedo up or rocket up. So as well, I know we got a comment saying that that was one of the main concerns because there really isn't much of a nose. With the wheel wells, they kind of poke out a little bit, so your foot can catch more on the wheel wells as opposed to the actual nose. The ability to ollie is there, but again, you know, a lot of these boards, cruiser, surf skates, longboards, they're not made for tricks, obviously. So the fact that you can do it is like a plus to the board, but it's not their main purpose.
So you probably know by now, but we ended up getting the carving and slashing setup, which comes with the 50-degree Paris RKP trucks and the 77A wheels. But they also have the option to go with their all-around setup, which comes with their TKP trucks and 80A wheels, which seems to be the most popular setup so far. I want to quickly go over all the parts that make up the Coyote and just point out some things that I noticed. The bearings are Loaded's Jihu or Jehu, I never know if I'm pronouncing that right, V2 bearings, which have built-in spacers. If you've been watching any of my previous videos, then you know I'm a big fan of bearings that have built-in spacers. It's just less of a headache when you're trying to change out your wheels. You don't have to keep track of the washers or spacers flying all over the place. If I'm gonna be super nitpicky, I kind of wish that they had different color variations for their bearings so you can mix and match them, but not a huge deal. The bearings, they're solid quality. The deck shape is nice. Like I said in the beginning, it's around 31 inches, which is similar to a traditional skateboard. The wheel wells are probably my favorite part of this deck. it gives you a really nice way to lock into carves without having an aggressive concave throughout the whole thing. The Olulu graphic is sick. If I'm gonna be honest here, I kind of like the older color scheme better. I think it was like the Ted Kelly version, but that's nothing to take away from this graphic. You can tell Olulu's super talented, and yeah, it's really subjective. The Paris V2 150mm 50-degree trucks are solid. They come stock with 90A barrel and cone bushings, which honestly feels good for what I'll be using it for. I'm glad I got the 77A 65mm wheels versus the 80A because I'm not really looking to do any slides. And of course, you know, I had to test this out with different Surfskate adapters. So I tested it out with Yao, Smooth Star, Waterborne, Carver CX trucks, and Gullwing Sidewinders. This test really made me realize why most Surfskate setups use decks in the 9.5 to 10 inch range. It just feels more comfortable for pumping. And so that thought right there kind of segues me into the Yao, Smooth Star, and Waterborne just didn't really feel right in my opinion. This deck just feels too thin for those more aggressive adapters. Although side note, it is personal preference because I've had a bunch of people hit me up and tell me that this deck has been a blast with Yao, has been a blast with Waterborne. So really to each their own. The two standout setups for this deck were the Carver CX trucks and the Gullwing Sidewinders. If I was gonna pick one winner, I would say Carver CX trucks. I still need to test it against the C7 and C5 too, because honestly, the C5 probably make the most sense for this deck since it's a more street-driven truck. Okay, so who do I think the Coyote is best for? I was thinking about this for a while, and I think if you're coming from a traditional skateboarding background, this deck shape is gonna make a lot of sense because it's a similar length and it'll probably just feel familiar. As far as the characteristics go, compared to a popsicle board, the kicktail on the Coyote is much more low key, so it's obviously cruiser friendly. And then the wheel wells, I think are a game changer for carving. You're definitely not gonna get that on a traditional board. I mean, it's no surprise that you're paying a premium for the brand Loaded because they've established themselves as having high quality boards, have a lifetime warranty and solid customer service. So I think it's really up to you to decide if that price difference is worth it. I'm gonna be straight up, I've always been a fan of Loaded because I think they make super high quality builds, and I'm willing to pay the price, especially based on the fact that I bought a Tantien like 8 years ago when I was in high school. Wait, was high school 8 years ago? Bro, I don't even know. I bought a Tantien years back and that thing is still going after all the abuse I put it through. For me, if it's between the Lanyard's Dinghy, the Coyote, or the Omakase, I'm always gonna pick the Omakase just because I like wider decks with more aggressive concave. Like I said, I'll probably slap the Carver CX trucks on the Coyote and use it as a more portable cruiser carving machine. Quick reminder, the giveaway for the Coyote deck right here is linked in the description below. Go follow that and the rules are right there. If you end up deciding that the Coyote is right for you, we're gonna link Loaded's website in the description below. It is an affiliate link, so we will get a small commission, but it's at no additional cost to you and it helps us honestly fund our future videos. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Get out there, go shred, later.
Which, I mean, if you're off the ground, counts as an ollie. But we want to look cool when we do this, right, Bill?
Right.
Yeah, and we're all about looking cool, man. I just got my hair cut and I look like peak 2013 Macklemore, right? So we're all about looking cool. It's 70 degrees out, I got a sweatshirt on. Let's go do this. You know, this board is more designed for cruising, which is really what you should use it for, but on here on Shredshack, we like to do other stuff. Okay.